안녕하세요. 이원재 건축 레시피의 이원재입니다. 오늘은 저희가 초대한 마이크 네즈빗 작가와 함께 인터뷰를 진행해 보도록 하겠습니다. 저희 마이크 네즈빗에 대해서 간단히 설명드리면은, 마이크 네즈빗은 시애틀 마리너스 야구 선수였고요. 은퇴 이후에 건축과를 졸업해서 모포시스라는 건축회사에서 실무를 하다가 아티스트로 최근에 이제 전향한 우리 작가시고요.
Hello, my name is Mike Nesbitt, and I'm here with good friend Wonjae. Yes, pleasure to be here. It's interesting having an interview kind of in a way this is now kind of the studio space. You know, it feels like a kind of like pre-game talk as opposed to post-game talk. Typically we kind of talk after the game, but nowadays they have like interview with the players before and during, so.
우리 마이크 네즈빗은 전시를 기획하게 된 목적이 무엇인지 설명해 주실 수 있는지, 그리고 왜 그런 전시를 기획하게 됐는지 이야기해 주실 수 있을까요?
The exhibition is titled Pour Tomorrow. Pour Tomorrow is a kind of concrete reference in terms of, it seems like within construction that word gets used a lot, you know, pour tomorrow. And sometimes pour tomorrow doesn't necessarily mean like tomorrow, but sometimes it could actually get pushed to many days down the road. So, you know, there is a reference to concrete, which has really become a medium of choice for myself and for the studio. I really look at kind of concrete as a painterly medium, whether painting at a architectural scale, painting at a sculptural scale, or painting kind of more like a kind of a studio scale. And so I think, you know, this exhibition is going to kind of look at a combination of techniques and how I kind of approach concrete. Because for me, the beauty in concrete is not just the medium itself, the cement, the sand, the aggregate, but also it's the formwork and the process that goes involved in making the formwork. The kind of with the team, there's been a lot of attention paid to every single aspect and detail of the formwork, because I always look at the formwork as giving the concrete, the painting, the sculpture, the kind of best opportunity to succeed. And I think for me, it's very critical that maybe in regards to Pour Tomorrow, maybe the concrete never comes, and maybe you're only left with the formwork, and the formwork needs to stand alone. And I think that, you know, this series or this body of work is really an exploration and a celebration in terms of the process of making, not only in the process of the pour and the playfulness and the mess, but everything that gets built up. Because as you know, as an architect and someone who's well aware of construction and tectonics, the complexity that goes into formwork, and then the anxiety that goes into a concrete pour and not necessarily knowing, you know, what's going to happen.
Would you explain a little bit why you choose materials and how you end up being like having this exhibition?
Yes, I think the materials that are chosen for this exhibition is really quite simple. We're looking at concrete and plywood. Concrete, the medium to create the painting, or that will be the painting, and then the formwork that kind of creates the painting. And I think for myself, it's incredibly important to understand that every part of the process is precious, and that the formwork itself might be the most important thing, because it's the formwork that really kind of lays the foundation for the concrete to come. And maybe the concrete won't get poured, and we're just left with the formwork. So for me, it's critical that every part of every piece is given a kind of care.
So as I saw your all the art pieces and have really variety of like you know, pigments and not pigment but very like intense like blue color actually pronunciate in a variety way that I think that somehow telling some like meaning behind in between materiality or you know that the composition itself. Can you tell a little bit about what people can expect when they visit your exhibition?
I think for me, it tends to always go back to the landscape, and it goes back to context. And I think concrete as a medium, most often it's painted gray or it's painted white. And concrete is something that comes from the landscape. The aggregate, the sand, the cement, everything comes from the landscape, and yet it always gets represented as something kind of quite cold, quite monolithic. And so I think for me, as thinking of it as a kind of painterly medium, how can I kind of bring that conversation of the concrete back to the landscape? How do we soften concrete? How do we brighten concrete? How do we kind of make this thing that might be quite cold and monumental, all of a sudden warm and comforting?
I think, in my opinion, when I see the concrete itself, I really interested the fact that you choose concrete, because concrete is some material that not many people are using it, but also it represents modern civilization, I guess. So next question, this is like a very private space that we're doing exhibition, and do you have a goal, or do you have the thing that you expect for the audience to looking at? What do you want them to feel from your exhibition?
I think curiosity, I think intrigue, I think to be able to look at something and maybe not know it's concrete, to look at something and see it as a painting, but then being informed that it's concrete. I think it makes you question, just as how the work is being placed in an unconventional space. And I think that using artwork and using these kind of maybe creative conceptual strategies are really important, because it allows us to rethink the value systems that we put in place. What can a painting be? What can concrete be? What can a gallery space be? What can a museum exhibition be? And I think that this is kind of an opportunity for the studio to kind of continue to explore those ideas and hopefully really push the boundaries of painting, of concrete, and of program.
Last word that you want to say to audience, or someone who might looking at you or expecting to see a lot of artwork. Can you say something to them?
This is a project that's about presence. It's about materiality. It's about making and empathy. I think, but most importantly, it's about the full team. I think that's the beauty of concrete. It's a architectural material. It's a construction material that requires more than just myself to participate. And I think that this exhibition is not just about me. It's about the whole team.
이번 전시는 마이크 작가님께서 저희 회사에 전시를 해주심으로써 저희 크리에이션 타워나 저희 과천의 문화 활동이 시작되는 그런 매개체라고 생각합니다. 저희는 단순하게 이런 로비 환경을 이렇게 버려두고 이렇게 쓸모없는 공간으로 내버려두는 것이 아니라 이런 창의적인 것을 많이 기획함으로써 이 사옥을 이용하시는 많은 분들에게 예술적 영향을 주었으면 하는 바람에서 이런 전시를 기획했던 것 같습니다. 여기까지 이원재 건축 레시피였고요. 오늘은 마이크 네스비님을 초대해서 곧 전시가 열릴 기획과 그 전시에 대해서 저희가 물어보고 질문하는 시간을 가졌습니다. 많은 시청 부탁드리고 구독과 좋아요 눌러주세요.